So why don't we start off then, guys, with those weeknight games to kick off the season? I mean, what a treat. Ravens and Chiefs, another Lamar and Mahomes battle. Mahomes 4-1 all time against Lamar Jackson. A rematch of the AFC Championship game, which the Chiefs won 17-10 in Baltimore. Think about if you're a Baltimore fan, you're excited because this is a chance at rematching the team that knocked you out. But at the same time, there's got to be a little piece of you that's like, oh my God, really? We have to open up the season with these guys again, who just seem to have our number. Would you be if you were a Ravens fan, before we really get into the game, would you be more excited or kind of like frustrated that this is the opening game?
I'd be frustrated. This is the best team in the league. A team that's owned you. And now you're opening up on the road in Arrowhead, a game where you're an underdog against Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and a nice
rocking crowd, probably.
Rocking crowd, a good run game in Isaiah Pacheco, my second round fantasy pick.
There we go.
And a young plethora of who I think are underrated weapons. Raji Rice.
No Hollywood Brown for this game, though.
I'm high on Xavier Worthy out of Texas as well. I think he's a deep ball threat who can do some damage. This is a pretty decent Chiefs team outside of Travis Kelce. And I feel like that hasn't really been a thing in quite a bit. And opening up for Baltimore on the road, I know it's a revenge spot. I'm sure you had this game circled. The team who knocked you out last year in your home stadium. But open up against the best team in football on a Thursday night in prime time. You're obviously not thrilled by it. You want anybody else besides them.
What do you think, Ziggy? If you were a Ravens fan, and you have to remember, Ravens fans.
Also, truly, if you're hosting them, it's different.
Yeah,
on the road, you don't want any part of that.
I think Ziggy.
I totally disagree. If there's any time that I want to play the Chiefs this season, it's week 1. I know going to Arrowhead is tough. There's no doubt about it. But this Chiefs offense, I think, is only going to get better as the season goes on. Right now, you've got Patrick Mahomes working again with young guys he hasn't worked with before. And I mean, we saw it last year of the Chiefs, right? They eventually will probably figure out their offense. But the chances after week 1, Super Bowl, you won it. Travis Kelce, he's been distracted all offseason. Like the chances that you are going to get a weaker Chiefs team than you're getting week 1, that's unlikely. So the fact that you get a chance to face your number 1 competition for the 1 seed, right? You get a chance to make a name for yourself, and they're the weakest they'll be. I think if there's any time to play the Chiefs, it's for the season opener.
That's a good point.
And look at what the Lions did last year. They were able to go in, get the win, and in many ways, I think that propelled them to the season that they had. Because we were all watching the game together, and when Detroit won that, we were like, oh my God, these guys are legit. And that kind of, I thought that really set the tone for Detroit of, okay, they're here. That 8-2 end to the 2022 season was not a fluke. Like it's go time. If Baltimore wins that game, in some ways, it's not the playoffs, but it could feel like a monkey off your shoulder a little bit, or at least the bully, you finally put them down. Mm-hmm. And, who knows where Baltimore could go if they're playing with confidence. A couple things to look at. So the Ravens rushing attack, we all know it's amazing. That we know that they do it more than anyone else in the National Football League, both in attempts and rushing yards last season. They bring in Derrick Henry, who led the league in individual rushing attempts. That rushing offense versus the Chiefs rushing defense, which kind of struggled last year at times. It was 18th in the NFL. Like that's one spot that I'm circling right there of whether or not Kansas City will be able to slow down the two-headed attack of Henry and Lamar. Like, do you guys think they're able to do that? And how excited are you to see Lamar and Henry in the backfield?
Well, yeah, I hope Baltimore learns from the mistake they made last year in the playoffs. They seemed to totally abandon what they're good at, and that was that run game. And they ended up scoring 10 points against one of the weaker run defenses out there. I want to pound the rock with Lamar, with Derrick Henry, much more than they did last year, and force Kansas City to stop you. Not many teams can.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And like make them show that they can before you open up the playbook. Like last year, I feel like it was immediately the game started and Baltimore is just not who they are, and which didn't make much sense to me. So they learn from what they did last season, go to their strong suit, find Kansas City's weakness, which is that run game, and utilize Derrick Henry and Lamar big time.
And I mean, if you're a Ravens fan, aren't you just happy to be going into a game with your number 1 and number 2 running backs healthy? It's been, I mean, you look at the disaster they had last year, right? J.K. Dobbins. Then you look at Keaton Mitchell, right? It felt like running backs just kept getting hurt for that
He
team.
had so many, though. I mean,
Yeah, but that's, I mean, you can bring in as many guys as you want, but it's nice to have the people you expect to play actually playing. And even though the offensive line, I think, took a little bit of a step back, Derrick Henry still has it in him. Every year I predict against him, and every year it doesn't matter. It feels like he's Tom Brady out there, right? Every year this guy just gets better. And when you're putting Lamar Jackson there, what?
No, Derrick Henry still like 280 carries last year, 1,200 yards. He gets ran into the ground every single season, but he comes back the next year. He's just
I mean, it feels like he's going to set an NFL record for most carries. I know that's not going to happen because you got Frank Gore ahead of him, but the dude can play. So I think when you're looking at a team that, even though they've lost some guys this offseason, and I've been down on the Ravens all offseason, I'll admit it, there's a lot to like about this team. And at least now when they're healthy, who knows what it'll be by the end of the season with the injury luck they've had. But right now, when you've got everyone ready to go, it's a tough matchup for Kansas City, right? It's easy to say, oh, Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough to go into Arrowhead, but the Chiefs can't be all that happy about having to host this team either.
Oh, there's a million opponents I'd rather face if I'm the Chiefs than Baltimore. Yeah,
it could be 30 other.
Yeah, literally. Could be
I'm not sure if there could be a worse, or a better opponent than Baltimore to go.
Pittsburgh, San Francisco,
the Vikings. The Vikings are up there. The Ravens too in that AFC Championship game. Remember that Zay Flowers fumble right on the goal line. Like there was a lot. If a couple plays here or there go differently, maybe the Ravens are hosting this game as the defending Super Bowl champions.
I think it is a good point. Like Z brought up a good point before, how this is most likely, pretty much almost certain that this is where Kansas City is going to be at their weakest point. But it's also a good measuring stick in my eyes for Baltimore, and seeing where they're at now with Derrick Henry and
3 new starters on the offensive line.
Yeah, like some new faces.
Defense had a ton of people leave.
Yeah,
coordinator.
It's a measuring stick where they're at early in the season as well, going to the best team in football immediately off the bat.
Yep, totally agree. Ziggy, looks like there's something you want to say before we
Well, I was going to say, it's when you've had a lot of losses on defense, right? You lost some players, you lost your coach. I don't think the challenge will be for this Ravens offense. I think they match up pretty well against the Kansas City defense. But this defense needs to slow Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs down. And that's just, who can do that? I mean, I think the Ravens have to hope that the Chiefs offense, like last year, starts off slow. I mean, the Chiefs offense last year for the first, 9 or 10 games was not particularly impressive. People were wondering if they're going to be able to get it together, and ultimately they did. But with a slow start, there's a chance that the Ravens will be able to stop them enough.
I think even beyond week 9 or 10, somewhere in there was the Raiders game, right? Where they got upset by Vegas. Like the Kansas City offense was off for much of last year. One matchup to circle, I just want to throw this out there, is Kelce versus Kyle Hamilton. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. We saw it in the playoffs, and Kelce, Kyle Hamilton, friend of the show.
Kelce gonna murder that dude.
Kelce 11.
I mean, well, people have been talking this offseason. If you look at, Mike Sando always gets intel from executives. People have told him around the league, there's belief that Kyle Hamilton will become the best safety in football and one of the best defensive players, period, this year.
I mean, he is. He is one of the best defense. Yeah, it's done. Like that was the thing, Ziggy. And here we go with this. I
can't do this conversation.
Yeah, we can't do it again. We can't do it again with the Vikings taking Lewis Scene. But you watch Kyle Hamilton play, and it was pretty clear just in college. The dude can play football. I don't know how he fell. Regardless, Kelce, 11 catches on 11 targets again. Not necessarily against Kyle, but 11 catches on 11 targets against Baltimore, 116 yards, the touchdown on Kyle last year. He was just dominant in that Chiefs Ravens game. Really dominant throughout the entire playoff stretch. So the Chiefs find ways to wake up when they need to. And, it would be hard pressed for me to see them not being awake for week 1 against Baltimore.
I think Kelce racks up those fantasy points for me all night.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Jack also owns Travis Kelce.
I got Kelce in the 5th round. You know that?
Jack was eyeing Lamar Jackson quite a bit for a Steeler fan.
I was eyeing Lamar as well, but I got Kelce round 5.
All right, so the Chiefs are 3-point favorites in the opener on Thursday night. We'll get to that pick in our game predictions coming up later. Here we go. So if you stuck around with us, here's game picks, and pick along with us here. So the first game, the Chiefs are 3-point favorites over the Ravens in Arrowhead.
I got the Chiefs. I hate the Ravens. Got the Chiefs. 1-0.
Yeah. I've been down on the Ravens all offseason. I can't change Chiefs. And this is straight up, right? This isn't against.
This is straight up. This is not against the spread. They're 3-point favorites.
So if you're playing in the Paul Farrington Pick'em League, this is a chance to get a little bit of an inside advantage, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, it is. You get our picks here. You get to understand it before they come in.
You can fade them.
In this one, man, the Ravens are a really good team. That defense is gonna be flying all around the field. I think I'm gonna switch over. I think I'm going to go Baltimore in an upset.
Chiefs
week 1. Yeah, I was planning on Chiefs the whole time, but all of a sudden I'm thinking Baltimore. All right, second game Friday.
Raven sounds like it.
Yeah, it was a little Raven sound.